it just deepens the wound and pushes us farther away from other people that we could relate to.
I think you both just highlighted how sometimes post-traumatic growth gets veiled as like toxic positivity, right? Because toxic positivity almost just forces repression a little bit further and really honors that, right? And that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about forcing performance and forcing resilience for others. And resilience isn't performative either. We can only kind of push ourselves so much. But this is about the nervous system's natural ability to reorganize safety and capacity together, right? And when growth is pushed too soon, it does lead to that suppression and shame and bypassing rather than transformation. Authentic growth requires space for grief and stabilization first, a full emotional experience, and even language for emotions. Trauma disrupts safety, so regulation has to come before we can expect a huge expansion, especially an expansion into forgiveness. And once the body no longer feels under constant threat, curiosity and meaning-making emerge organically. And that's a huge part of this. And it's a relational component is a huge part of this, right? Because trauma fractures connection. Post-traumatic growth is often marked by a return of relational capacity, trust, co-regulation, and belonging. Humans are wired for interdependence, and our ability to repair relationships is not just a nice to have experience. It's a hallmark of true nervous system repair.
So in my observation of working with clients, most people who experience post-traumatic growth, they almost always start with building body safety first, regulating their body and the nervous system. Because while the nervous system is running in survival mode, new possibilities just don't even feel reachable, right? Yeah. They're just unattainable. So that's why someone can hear all these positive messages in the world, but still feel stuck. And from the other side of the conversation, those statements, like Elisabeth, you were sharing, about resentment, they're not untrue, but they're so far out of reach, right? When we're still, bathing in trauma and dysregulation, they're completely unattainable. So they're not good advice, right? They're not false, but they're not good. But trauma doesn't just separate us from ourselves and from our future possibilities. Like you were saying, Jen, it also isolates us quite a lot from other people. And I think to a large degree, our society even makes it worse. We live in a culture that really prizes independence and strength and self-sufficiency. And if trauma already pushes us towards isolation, that message that we just need to forgive, or we just need to drop our resentment and the positive, toxic positivity, it just deepens the wound and pushes us farther away from other people that we could relate to. So when people regulate their body and nervous system into safety, often with neuro tools, and when they reconnect with relationships and they find relational safety, those are the two things that really allow growth to take root and for those 5 key domains to start to change and shift our perspective on the world.
Something that was coming up for me when you were talking, Matt, too, about these things aren't wrong. They're just not right for someone at that moment. And then what happened, and what I see happen a lot, is then it just drives the coping behaviors because you're getting pushed more into that repression. So then I can't stop binging. I can't stop numbing out. I can't stop dissociating or social media scrolling. And you're doing all of this work on self-improvement, but that repression is just happening more and more, and you're not actually developing the skill. And then it is disconnecting you more from others because that shame of not being able to, and the emotional, like you become more and more afraid of your emotions if they're the thing that is not going to help you grow to that next place. And so you disconnect more from others. You don't share that and have that connection as you're going through
because
it.
you can't trust their response. They drive your dysregulation, and it really also is a huge block to trusting yourself And so it furthers the disconnection that you are having with yourself too, about even trusting your experiences and where trusting the experience that you are living from.
Yeah, it's so hard to show up with vulnerability and to trust the very same people that are driving your dysregulation. Because you're like, they're tasking me or advising me to act in a certain way. And if I show them who I really am, are they going to be disappointed? Is there going to be judgment and shame? So for me, that whole cycle just led to more masking, right? The advice from those people or those groups caused me to show up in like a performance manner. Like I'm going to put on a really good face. I'm going to act this way in public. And then in private, it caused me to be even more dissociated because I'm not living in integrity and congruence with who I am and how I feel. So it was just more and more masking that built up until eventually, I think for a lot of people, there becomes a moment of a crash or a disconnect, or like, I just can't do it anymore. And they dissociate from that group and they pull away, and we get that isolation that we were talking about.
This clip is just a glimpse into our full deep dive conversation. If this topic resonates with you, click the link below and watch the entire Trauma Rewired episode here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful discussions on how neuroscience, the nervous system, and practical tools for repatterning can transform your resilience, behavior, and personal growth.